0-2 pitch. Hammers this ball to left, and that's going to be number 40. Way back and long gone. Pete Alonso becomes just the fourth Met ever to have a 40 home run season. He's the first National League rookie to ever do it. And now that Mets single-season franchise home run record is just 2 away from belonging to Alonso outright.
Welcome to The Thread, presented by Citi.
Hello and happy Monday. I'm Maria Marino. With the Mets road trip ending on a high note, we'll check in with our baseball insider to talk about what's next, plus get you the latest on both star running backs in New York and their status for the preseason. We'll also dive into the Yankees and Brett Gardner's temper. But we start with Pete Alonso surpassing Cody Bellinger's 39 homers with the Dodgers in 2017, setting a new rookie home run record in the NL. The Polar Bears' next milestone will likely be the Mets franchise record, which is 41 homers by Todd Hundley in 1996, matched by Carlos Beltran a decade later. As we bring in our panel, and Chris, when Bellinger set that record, he was also Rookie of the Year. Maybe that's next for Pete.
Oh, I believe so, because Fernando Tatis is likely out for the year, so Alonso now definitely has the inside track on that, as I'm joined by Mark Malusis and John Jastremski. So how amazing is it what Alonso's done this year, considering the fact that we didn't even know he was going to be on the team this year?
Which was pretty outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, it's a credit to Brody at the start of the year, down in spring training, basically saying if you earn your way onto the team, you're going to be on the team. I don't care about having an extra year at the back end, right? So you give Brody Van Wagenen credit. He earned it. You give Alonso credit for working his rear end, being motivated by the lack of a call-up last September, being motivated all offseason long, stepping in this year. And I know it's the year of the long ball. Take nothing away from what Alonso's done. He's become the face of the Mets, the voice of the Mets, and clearly a guy that fans have basically clinged on to, and his performance has been otherworldly.
Fellas, what's impressive to me about Pete Alonso, you see it with so many different guys over the years. Remember Aaron Judge after the home run derby?
Yeah.
Remember Bobby Abreu after the home run derby? A lot of guys after that derby going to that funk, and maybe it was the derby, maybe it's just the idea of playing 162 games in the big leagues for the first time, but it seems like Pete Alonso now has shaken off that idea of, he's going to go into that post-derby funk,
right?
Because now he is raking once again. I mean, he's now back to a point where he's hitting the ball over the fence. He's going to need to carry this lineup over the final 6 weeks. You're still waiting for Jeff McNeil to come back. You're waiting for Brandon Nimmo maybe to show up. Maybe Robbie Cano at some point in time. Good luck with that. But the Mets are going to need a whole lot more from Pete Alonso. And listen, he's not going to win the MVP award this year. Rookie of the Year, though, nice consolation prize.
Oh, yeah, I'll take that. And what's impressive to me is he went through that little slump that he had in July and has been able to, re-energize himself to put the team on his back. But I think it's going to take much more than Alonso for this team to actually get in the playoffs. He can't do it all himself.
No, he can't do it all himself, but to play the point that JJ was making is the fact of, what guys can raise the level of other guys on the team. The McNeil injury certainly hurts, dealing with that hamstring injury. I don't know if you're going to get Robbie Cano back. We'll see exactly, but you're going to need Alonso, you're going to need Conforto, you're going to need J.D. Davis. There are other guys, Wilson Ramos, there are other guys on this team that need to step up, but it's all important to be able to lean on a guy when he's stepping up into the batter's box, especially pressures on runners in scoring position. You need a big-time hit that he's going to give you a quality at bat, and you believe and trust Alonso is going to do you that right.
And if you talk about a guy who stepped up in the absence of McNeil, look at what Ahmed Rosario's done over the last few weeks. It's been phenomenal.
Been fantastic. So Alonso's been consistent. Something that's not consistent, the Mets bullpen. Their ERA during the road trip was a shade over 7. Edwin Diaz looked shaky for most of it. How worried are you, JJ, about this bullpen going forward?
Well, I think if the Mets are going to be a playoff team, either Edwin Diaz or Familia is going to have to step up in a big way. And I think Familia, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, has thrown the ball a heck of a lot better. Now, somebody's got to explain to me what Mickey Callaway was thinking on Friday night when Brad Brock loads the bases. Not exactly, the soft landing spot for Edwin Diaz, coming in bases loaded, nobody out. Mickey tells you after the game he did a wonderful job, but he walked in a run, he gave up a base hit. But I think if you're going to look at the Mets as a playoff team,
Right.
somebody other than Lugo in that bullpen has got to be able to get some big outs.
Yeah, but who's that guy? I mean,
don't
who's
know.
that guy? I mean, you look at that game on Friday, scenario is you're going to go to Seawald just off a plane. You're going to go to Familia, who over the last 2 or 3 weeks has looked a lot better and seems to have mechanically worked his way to be able to throw strikes. But throwing strikes has been an issue. You're going to bring him into a bases-loaded situation. Listen, it's a lost cause right now, and that's the problem you have when you look at this Mets team, is that there aren't a lot of guys to lean on that you have complete and utter confidence in and say to yourself, all right, I believe I need 2 or 3 guys to go along with Lugo. And I don't know if I'm going to get 2 or 3 guys the rest of the way. And that's an issue for this team and for this organization if you believe that they're going to be an NL wildcard team.
And if you look at their schedule over the next couple of weeks, you don't have lineups like the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Miami Marlins. And we get it. The Mets have a really good starting rotation. You saw it in Atlanta. Atlanta grinded out those at-bats, and the Mets starters weren't going 7 and 8 innings at a time. So what does that mean? Guys in the bullpen got to step up. And to Moose's point, I don't know who that's going to be.
Well, and it also means that when a guy's pitching well, like Matt's was the other night, you don't take him out of the game.
Hot hand.
Well,
right, the hot hand. It didn't make any sense. Maria,
Yeah.
you got a lot more, though, on the Mets coming up.
That's right, Chris. Along those lines, it's time for the direct message. Our MLB insider, Andy Martino, joining us. Hey, Andy.
hello, Maria.
Hi. So options within the bullpen still are limited, of course. You saw Edwin Diaz even in a tough spot again there on Friday. How close is Mickey Callaway to figuring out the right formula?
He's got a lot of new toys to play with Brad Brock and with an improved Familia. Justin Wilson hasn't been around that long. He's been hurt a lot of the years. So I don't know that he's that close, but it just, Maria, becomes a nightly effort to figure out where the pieces fit. It's a decent problem to have compared to June when the Mets bullpen was historically bad, and it was hard to imagine it ever stabilizing. It stabilized to an extent, although there's a ceiling there still with some of these guys and certainly the struggles that they've had. The one thing that Mickey cannot do as he continues to try to find, as you were saying, the right order, the right way to put this together, is to put Edwin Diaz in a big, high-leverage spot in an important game. That was a mistake when he did that with the bases loaded a few nights ago. That can't happen because you've got 24 other guys in the team who are grinding out, doing everything they can to get a playoff spot, and Edwin Diaz cannot be put in a position to undermine those efforts.
All right, well, let's look forward. There's this critical 9-game homestand opening tomorrow. What's the confidence level like for this team when they play at Citi?
As high as I have ever seen it in the years that I've been covering the Mets. And I covered a lot of teams that were decent on the road, Met teams were, and then when they get to Citi Field, there was just a bad vibe. Guys weren't hitting. Of course, they've moved the fences in since. But even after they did that, it was tough for the Mets to play in a lot of years at Citi Field. And the team was always trying to figure out what the reason was for that. And now there's this vibe happening where the fans are super into it. The team feels good at home. They're comfortable there. And I've never quite seen anything like it. Of course, in 2015, when they went to the World Series, that built also toward the end of the year as the Mets were hot. But right now, with what the response that Pete Alonso, who's almost like a folk hero there, gets, and right on down the roster, that builds, and the Mets do feel good about playing at Citi Field, like I said, in a way that I have not seen since the place opened.
And I was there just a week ago, Andy. It was electric. Good vibes. Thank you so much for the insight. Ahead on the thread, how does Adam Gase approach playing certain stars in preseason? Well, he learned a tough lesson Thursday night and won't take the same chance the rest of the way, that's for sure. As for Pat Shurmur, he's being somewhat elusive about whether Saquon Barkley will see the field in the next couple weeks. We'll explain when the thread rolls on.
The Thread is brought to you by Citi. Know what else is amazing? Sending money to friends and family with Zelle on the Citi mobile app. Designed for you to spend less time on it.
You got this. You got this. You got this. You got this.
I knew it. I knew Miami would never recover from that fumble. So I live bet the money line on FanDuel Sportsbook.
Oh, that's what you knew.
Yep. And with live betting, I can keep making bets even after kickoff.
Great. And there's really nothing else to know, right?
Get live betting on every game this season on FanDuel Sportsbook. Join today and get your first bet risk-free up to $500.
What about him? I know.
Let's do it.
These winding roads will lead me home. To you I'll go on.
This summer, add a new member to the family. Hurry in and lease the GLC 300 SUV for just $419 a month with credit toward your first month's payment at the Mercedes-Benz summer event. Going on now.
Who's raking? Who's slumping? Who's dealing? Catch up on all the local baseball activity from our panel of insiders as they recap and break down the latest Mets and Yankees action on Baseball Night in New York. Tonight at 6, only on SNY.
Start thread in the news. Jets coach Adam Gase made it clear Sunday that running back Le'Veon Bell will not play at all this preseason, but said he's increasing reps for Bell each week to try and get him as game ready as possible, that he's in great shape and handling contact well. Gase also said he was 99% sure going into the preseason that Bell would not play. Factoring into that decision was the season-ending injury to starting linebacker that is Avery Williamson. He tore an ACL playing this past Thursday night. Speaking to media for the first time since, Gase took blame and explained that he partly kept Williamson in to take some load off Neville Hewitt, who's new to their system.
Wanted Avery to be in there, and because Neville would be with a guy that's a starter, and just looking back on it, hindsight's 2020. I wish I would have got him out of there a series earlier, but I've talked with him, and it's all me. I'm the one that has to make that call and get him out of there, but we didn't, and it's a shame because he was having a good camp.
I'll send it back over to the guys. And Chris, a lot of coaches at this point just consider preseason a complete liability.
Oh, it is a liability because the guys out there, the starters, don't need to be showing what they can do. We already know. It should be the backups, the third strings that are in it. So we heard Adam Gase take the blame for Avery Williamson's injury Thursday. How important, JJ, was it for Gase to take that accountability?
Adam Gase trying to do the right thing, and I think he feels for his player, considering that, you had a bunch of second and third stringers out there, and yet Avery Williamson was like the one first-team guy still playing, and of course he ends up being the guy that tears his ACL. But when it comes down to these football injuries, look, Adam Gase probably shouldn't have had Avery Williamson in the game. I'd be the first to tell you that. But at the end of the day, whether it's practice, whether it's week one, whether it's whenever it may be, injuries are going to happen in football. So I think that's Adam Gase trying to just say, you know what, this is my team. I want to own everything that's going on with my team. But the idea of just killing and crucifying this guy, anybody could get hurt anytime, any place. That's football.
Yeah, it is a problem for the National Football League, number one, the way the preseason is being used by coaches around the NFL. Some view it as something that they want to use and play starters. Others view it completely differently. And that's an issue when you look at the competitive balance. Now, you look at this scenario, I feel most bad for Avery Williamson, right? He's guaranteed the $6.5 million this year. There's no guarantee next year. Now he's coming off a torn ACL. You feel bad for Greg Williams in that defense because Avery Williamson was a really good player for the Jets defensively a year ago. Freaky play. It's not a scenario where he's trying to stop the run and stuff in the run and he gets crushed by an offensive lineman. Defensive back trying to make a play, dives, hits him in the knee,
friendly
blows
fire.
out his ACL. That's I feel for Gase, and I'm sure he feels guilty, but I have no issue with Avery Williamson being in the game at that point.
You don't have any?
I really don't. I don't. Listen, I think there comes a point where you need veterans to play, because if veterans don't play, they can't teach the young guys in order what they need to do over the course of the regular season. It's a freaky accident. Injuries happen. You can't prevent injuries. And Parcells used to talk about that.
No, it's very true. All right, so now Le'Veon Bell will not play in the preseason. Gase said before preseason he was 99% sure about it. Now he's 100%. Do you think it's the right call?
Yeah, I do. When it comes to a running back, I think it's a little bit different. I know people are going to say, well, Le'Veon Bell hasn't gotten hit in a year, but I would hope that this guy's in good enough shape. I would hope that he's getting hit in practice. And at this point, giving him 4 or 5 carries in a preseason game, that's all of a sudden going to get him ready for week 1 against the Buffalo Bills. I am going to trust that my veteran player is going to be ready to go. And I can live with the idea if he's going to get hurt week 1 or week 2, that's going to sit a lot easier with me than the idea of, let's say, him getting hurt in the 3rd preseason game.
Here's why it makes the most sense. Life expectancy for a running back in the National Football League is less than any other position in the National Football League. So when you look at it, am I going to use some of the tread that's left on Le'Veon Bell's tires in the preseason, or I'm going to rev up the engines for the regular season? To me, I don't need to see star running backs playing in the preseason. I think Le'Veon Bell's set, ready to go. He's already proven how big of a stud he is.
Yeah, they're too valuable to put them out
no
there
doubt.
And then risk injury. All right, moving to the G-men. Pat Shurmur today was asked about Saquon Barkley playing in the preseason. His answer, quote, "I'll let that reveal itself." So very cryptic answer from Mr. Shurmur. Should the Giants follow suit?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play. I mean, it's the same thing that he gave you with the quarterback scenario, right? I'll let it reveal itself. I mean, that's Pat Shurmur's, a famous phrase. I don't think Saquon Barkley needs to play in the preseason, and I don't think you're going to see Saquon Barkley play in the preseason, JJ.
He should put a copyright on that, by the way, Pat.
Yeah,
Shurmur.
you should.
Make a lot of money that way.
Make some money
Put a
on that.
copyright on that. And
Make
listen,
some shirts out there.
Shirts,
Yeah, that's it.
slogans, whatever you want to do. But as far as Saquon Barkley, no, he's not going to play in his preseason. That wouldn't shock me if he came out for a series. But at the end of the day, it's like Le'Veon Bell. You know what Saquon Barkley can bring to the table. Why am I going to burn him out in a preseason game? Makes no sense.
No sense at all. All right, so Raiders wideout Antonio Brown skipped practice Sunday, but he returned today while still dealing with his helmet issues. Let's just imagine if he was a Jet. How crazy would this be, man?
It'd make our life a lot more fun.
It would. We would have a lot to talk about.
Right, it would, but here's the deal. He's going to be there week 1 when the Raiders take on the Broncos. Is he not? The second game of that doubleheader on Monday night. I mean, he'll be there. He'll be set, ready to go. He'll be wearing the new helmet. He'll be over the foot issue and everything like that. Now, listen, this is not something that Mayock and Gruden want to deal with out there in Oakland. Certainly Gruden's second camp, 89 guys, as Mayock talked about, said, no, either you're all in or you're not, John. But the fact is that Antonio Brown's a big-time player, and that's why they're starving. If he was in a Jet uniform, I think Jet fans would be excited about seeing what Antonio Brown could do with Sam Darnold.
Don't get me wrong. I think he's the most talented wide receiver in the sport, but he's a massive diva, and you're seeing that diva reputation now on full display. You saw it last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I can't wait for the next episode of Hard Knocks. His feet, the helmet, it's Mayock, it's Gruden. I mean, it's going to make for some great TV.
But here's the one thing, he's a player.
Oh, no doubt.
One thing is he's a productive player. That's one thing you can't take away from Antonio Brown is that when he steps on the football field, you mentioned it, he is the most productive wide receiver in the National Football League. Lives, eats, and breathes and do anything for his team to win.
Tell you this, though, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to be happy not having that distraction any longer. I think they got sick and tired of it.
Oh, yeah. They're counting their blessings right now. Ahead on the thread, it's back to baseball and another ejection for Brett Gardner. Is it the umps or does Gardy need to cool it? We'll break it down next.
Welcome to Toyota's National Clearance Event.
Been hearing a lot about some great deals.
Yep, with the great deals on the last of the 2019s and low APR financing options, it's a win-win.
What about me?
It's a win-win-win.
What about us?
It's a win, win, win. Everybody wins at the National Clearance Event.
Right now, lease a new 2019 Highlander with all-wheel drive for just $239 a month. Or get $2,000 customer cash on a new 2019 Highlander.
Save on the last of the 2019s. Come in today.
Toyota, let's go places.
Make the big leap, even if you have your doubts. Take small steps, especially if they're easy. Wash your beard daily to reduce gray gradually. Just use it until you like what you see to get subtle, natural-looking results. And always be open to new firsts. Like Control GX from Just for Men, the first and only gray-reducing beard wash. Be the better man you are and look the part.
Weather's perfect. Family's all together.
And we switched to Geico, save money on our boat insurance.
How can it get any better than this?
Dad, I just caught a goldfish.
There's no goldfish in this lake.
Whoa.
It's pure gold. We're gonna be rich. We're gonna be rich!
It only gets better when you switch and save with Geico.
Big disgrace, waving
Drive home a Ford F-150 with $10,730 in total savings, or lease one for $169 a month. See details at buyfordnow.com.
Welcome back. In the Yankees' 4-game split with the Indians, DJ LeMahieu not only kept a potential AL batting title in his sights, he continued his clutch play. In fact, he's hitting .413 with runners in scoring position. Good for the best in baseball. Unfortunately, not every Yanks bat is as hot, which brings us to Fahrenheit 41 with our panel.
Thanks, Maria. We'll start with Aaron Judge after a relatively quiet July, also having a pretty quiet August, a 2.22 average, and just one homer. So will he stay cold or will he heat up, Moose?
Yeah, you know what, Chris? I think he's going to heat up. I think he's too good of a hitter, and we've seen him go through some of these spells and where he has high strikeouts and in big leverage situations, John. And I think with his approach, and sometimes he can get a little bit of a funk, but I think Judge has proven himself to be too good of a hitter to think that he is going to be this the rest of the way. He has not had an Aaron Judge type of year. We know that. We understand that. The very fact is, I think he's going to finish this season strong. I think he's going to heat up.
Totally agree. He had that terrible performance, what was it, Thursday with the sombrero and all the strikeouts, and then came alive over the rest of the weekend. And I think the most encouraging sign for Aaron Judge, Friday, Saturday, Sunday against the Cleveland Indians, started turning on the baseball once again. And you go back to Aaron Judge when he was at his very best in 2017, even last year. You think about the wild card game and the home run he hit off Liam Hendricks to left center field. The fact that Judge is now turning on the ball again, complimenting dead center, complimenting right center, I think it means he's about to get going. And for Aaron Judge, you're right, it's going to be a lost year statistically, but it's all about what he's going to do in the month of October, and I think he starts getting right now.
Oh, yeah. This is the perfect time for him to heat up because it doesn't matter what he did in the early months. It's all about what you do in September and October. So let's move to the starting rotation. 2 straight solid outings from Masahiro Tanaka against the A's and Mariners next. Will he stay hot? He's going to cool off.
You know what, Chris? I think he's figured it out. And we've seen the inconsistency with Masahiro Tanaka. First off, he's a tremendous big-game pitcher. And I have complete and utter trust come October. Now, we know the ball's a little bit different. We know that the split finger has not had the same bite this year. And he's talked about the fact of not having the same bite. And we've seen that and him getting knocked around. The inconsistency comes along with it. But I think he's figured something out here, John. I think his last 2 starts indicative of what we're going to see as a successful road trip. I think he pitches well against both the Mariners and A's.
There's no doubt Masahiro Tanaka is a big game pitcher, and I would trust him game 1 without hesitation for the New York Yankees. But he's also one of these guys that kind of goes through the motions. I mean, listen, there's no knock on Tanaka. We were playing golf today. Orlando El Duque Hernandez was there. You remember El Duque used to have these starts? He'd give up 6 or 7 runs at a time. But when you needed him, he'd deliver. The Oakland A's are swinging hot bats. Oakland's got a lot of power. It would not surprise me if Tanaka goes there and gives up a couple of home runs. Means nothing come October. But I think Tanaka next time out could give up 4 or 5 runs. Wouldn't shock me.
Okay, so I think it would be Tanaka. He's going to do the real deal. He's going to give up 2 runs, maybe 1 run against the A's and the Seattle Mariners. All right, Brett Gardner ejected again Sunday. Again, doing that bad thing.
You working on that?
Yeah, we're working on it.
One of those.
Should he stay hot?
Be careful with that.
Should he stay hot at the umpire? Or cool off?
I think Gardner's got to cool off. I really do. And I understand the frustration level with him right now and getting run out of the game. And I heard, Boone getting run. I get it. I understand it. But enough's enough, really. They need him in the lineup. Veteran presence, probably going to be his final year in a Yankee uniform. You look at the fact of, it's one thing to do it. You made your point. Now it's time for Brett Gardner to probably move on and cool off here a little bit, John.
Totally agree. And listen, I think Gardner was well within his rights Saturday because I don't think he deserved to get ejected from that game.
Yeah.
And the umpires kind of antagonized the New York Yankees, which I didn't like. But now the umpires have sent a message to the Yankees and Brett Gardner. Enough is enough. And he's having a really good year. He's been very productive. You don't want that to be the storyline of the Yankees going into September and October. The idea that they're just in these brouhahas over and over again with the umpires. We had the Savages. You had your fun on Saturday, but enough is enough.
And Marie, you don't want these ejections to cost the Yankees the game when it comes down to the crunch time.
Well, you nailed it, especially as the postseason approaches. These Yankees want to be available for their team, so they got to be a little bit more careful. But still ahead on the thread, last call at MetLife Stadium, and which Jet stayed around to close the place down? We'll have the surveillance video for you. Stick around.
The Thread is brought to you by the Citi Rewards Plus card. It rounds your points up to the nearest 10 on every purchase, so you can score big points even on the little things.
Change has many faces, names you'll never know. The bright-eyed, the brave, the visionaries. Where challenges exist, you'll find them. At Citi, we empower people who are out to change the world. Because tomorrow belongs to those who welcome it with open arms. Citi, welcome what's next.
You got your homework?
Yeah.
Yeah? Hey.
What's the role of a car company? To take your kids to and from school?
Don't forget your science project.
We think it can be something bigger.
Everybody take your seats. Today we're going to
This summer, Volkswagen is supporting America's teachers. Visit your VW dealer to learn how you can join in. Hurry in during the Volkswagen Drive Bigger event and lease a Value Pack 2019 Tiguan S4 Motion for just $209 a month.
Here's to another year of helping men look their best. We're celebrating 46 years. Dress shirts are 4 for $125. Select suits start at $199.99, plus 50% off store-wide, only at Men's Warehouse.
Behold, the most habitations.
Wow.
And infinite realities for a new you.
I'm sort of split between these two.
Apartments.com. Change your apartment, change the world.
Tuesday, Michael Conforto and the Mets are locked in for some more interleague action at home as they take on the Tribe in a showdown in front of the Citi Field faithful. Coverage begins with Citi pregame Tuesday at 6:30 only on SNY.
Alonso drives one to deep center field. And it's out of here! And McNeil's got his 4th hit of the day. Conforto drives one to deep right. Forget that. That's out of here.
Coming up on Loudmouth's a good road trip for the Mets, plus Pete Alonso continues to be a beast in his rookie season.
He can mash. Plus, speaking of Brett Gardner, we're going to talk about the most annoying things we find in sports. But, Chris, let me tell you, Pete Alonso, he might be onto something here.
Oh, yeah, John. He is an amazing talent. Nice moment in Kansas City when Polar Bear hit a record-breaking home run. The family that caught the ball returned it back to its rightful owner. Pete was really humble about it, said he really appreciated what the family did. He also signed some bats and cleats. You can't say enough.
Great job by the fans, a great job by Alonso. That's why he completely gets him.
That's the way to do it right. You know, you get some swag, you get some gear, and Pete Alonso gets a baseball back. Win-win.
Always. And another cool moment, Jamal Adams, the face of the Jets, stayed over an hour to sign fans' autographs after the green and white scrimmage. He stayed so late, he missed the team bus. How can you not like
Well, how do you get back? Do you take an Uber?
I'm sure Jamal Adams had no issue getting back
Somebody
home.
pick him up?
Really
that's
did.
great. No, that's great. Look at him signing autographs.
This is what I love. But this is what Adams came in and said, I'm going to help be an instrument of change for the Jets. And he's exactly that.
No, he's about that action.
No doubt.
He's all
You
about
signing
that.
autographs after the show?
I'm not that big. I'm not that big, baby. I'm not
calling
like
you an
Jamal
Uber?
Adams.
Car service?
Yes, you are, Seawill.
There you go.
You might be signing autographs.
You will.
We'll see. We'll see you tomorrow at 5.
When you're the most awarded SUV ever and the most capable, changing how you're seen is as simple as changing your scenery. Have it all at the Summer of Jeep with a great deal on Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Well-qualified returning lessees get a low-mileage lease on select 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee models for $199 a month.
I have a structured settlement and I need cash now. Call J.G. Wentworth, 877-CASH now.
I have an annuity, but I need cash now.
Call J.G. Wentworth, 877-CASH now. 877-CASH now.
Call to find out how to get a $5,000 cash advance for your structured settlement. That's $5,000 to use any way you like.
You get long-term payments, but you need cash now. Call J.G. Wentworth, 877-CASH now. 877-CASH now.
877-CASH now.
877-CASH now.
It's your money. Use it when you need it.
Call J.G. Wentworth now for your $5,000. Offer is subject to meeting certain underwriting and transaction requirements. Call the number provided or visit 5000now.com for further details.
Keith Hernandez here, and I'm here to tell you about the Mets Bullpen Jackpot Sweepstakes from the New York Lottery. All season long, if one of our Metsies hits a home run off the New York Lottery sign, one lucky contestant can win cash. For every game that the sign isn't hit, the Bullpen Jackpot goes up and up and up. Visit SN